Greetings, live, and we have our detox tea and my Lake Superior cup, and her cup says something really fancy.
It says, I'm going to read it to you, it's really good. It says, happiness. The brain is like a muscle. When we feel good. Understanding is a kind of ecstasy.
So we're going to understand some stuff today because there's a whole bunch of bull around about COVID-19. And we're going to separate fact from fiction today. Fact number one, hand washing isn't as good as hand sanitizer. That's a myth. Washing your hands for 20 seconds with soap and water is actually better than hand sanitizer. And there's several reasons for that. Think about this. If you're trying to get something off of your hands, rinsing it with water is going to get those things off your hands. By the way, don't touch your face. I'm trying to remember that. We were out today and we probably used 10,806 pounds of germ killer on our hands. And as soon as we got home,
peroxide wipes.
And 2 peroxide wipes.
2 stops.
Yeah, and then we washed our hands.
And they were drive-through.
And they were drive-through, yeah.
Not the drive-through.
But hey, who's paranoid?
A drive-through.
Yeah, but who's paranoid? Anyway, washing your hands is the best way to clean your hands. Soap. It turns out that the COVID virus is an enveloped virus. So what does that mean? A little biology here. She can hit me if I get too crazy. So the RNA of this bug gets into our cells and then gets transformed into DNA and then makes a bunch more RNA that becomes these viruses. And when the viruses come out of our cells, they like pinch out, like your cell membrane's like this, and then it envelopes out, and then boom, that becomes the virus. So the virus is inside with all of its proteins, and then the fat layer of the cell is on the outside. That's called an enveloped virus, and that envelope is made of soap. And guess what soap?
No.
Sorry, it's made of fat.
I was like, that's so fancy.
That doesn't sound right. It's made out of fat. And guess what soap does to fat? It breaks it down, right? So when you break down that fat layer, it makes the bug very much more sensitive to being destroyed by other things. And number two, it makes it less able to get into your mucous membranes, because your mucous membranes, your lips, your nose, your eyes, and other places on your body, basically fats can get through them. Unlike your skin, a fat can't get through your skin as easily anyway. So washing the soap kills it, and then you're washing it down the drain because there's flowing water, right? So washing for 20 seconds. So you either sing happy birthday or you sing the ABC song, or you go like I do, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, up to 20, and then you're done. So fear number one is that hand sanitizer is better and I can't get any. The truth is hand washing is better.
It's best, yeah.
So what's number two?
Another fact is...
Or fear?
Yep, another fear is the only way to get COVID-19 is from another person touching me. And you are actually, the fact is, you are more likely to get COVID-19 from you touching yourself.
Hi, Mandy.
Hi, Mandy.
Good to see you. Yeah, you're more likely to touch yourself. Even if somebody else touches you, the concentration of virus is generally very low. But if they do touch you and then you're touching your face, like I talked about yesterday, that's when you get the virus. It's you touching you. So you've touched your clothes, you've touched an object, you've touched something, and then you get into your own face. Somebody touching your skin is an extremely low risk issue. Touching a grocery bag with your hands, you know, I'm sure you've seen reports where it can live for a long time on cardboard. Touching that with your hands isn't the problem. It's touching it with your hands and then sticking your hands in your face. That's the problem. So learn not to touch your face when you're in public. Learn to wash your hands in some way. Is Beth on the thing? You're saying hello to Beth through the deal here. Anyway, hi friend. Hi, Beth, I guess. And Mandy, you're just chatting up a storm here. I gotta see. There you go. Hi. Anyway, so that's myth number 2. So don't worry so much about other people touching you. If you do get touched in public, or if you touch something that you're worried about, launder your clothes immediately. Wash, and if it's a bad contamination, shower immediately. Wash your hands thoroughly, but move on. So, okay, what do we got next?
Next one's you. That one was me.
Okay, but I got to be able to see the list. Oh, well, that was number 3, so we got to go to number 4, which must be on this page. The virus is mostly, the myth, the fear, is that the virus is most likely spread from sharing the same air. And that's actually not true. So just breathing the same air is not really an issue. In other words, if you are 6 feet away from somebody, or even if you're closer and they're not sneezing or coughing or carrying on, the air is safe. There are a few reports out there. Some people are concerned that it can linger in the air, but I think that those are extraordinary circumstances and unusual. Generally speaking, if nobody's coughing or sneezing, the air is safe. If they are coughing and sneezing, be 6 feet. I like to say 10. If you're 10 feet away, everything in life is a curve, right? And that steep drop-off is at about 6 feet is where that drop-off really goes vertical. So if you're 10 feet, you're actually way outside. These ideas are called standard deviations. And if you're 2 standard deviations away, that means that you miss 97.5% roughly, something like that. I forgot the exact number. But if you're 3 standard deviations away, you miss like 99.9%. So a little further than 6 feet is always a good idea. So that's the issue there with the air being infected. It's not. It's droplets, and droplets are big enough to be acted on by gravity, so they go to ground. So don't worry about breathing the air. Don't worry about being outside. Worry about touching your face and worry about getting coughed on.
Next fear. People are more contagious after they've had it for a week. You are actually most contagious when you are most symptomatic. So at the first few days of your illness, when you're coughing, you're sneezing, you have a fever, that is when you are most likely to pass it to somebody else. And I know at the end yesterday we had a question about the use of ibuprofen, Tylenol, Mucinex, and really those are all things that suppress our symptoms. So we're feeling really crummy, and we have a headache, we have body aches, maybe we have a fever, and we take those, our symptoms are suppressed, we're feeling better, and then we go out. And really, now is the time, any time is the time where when you're ill, just let yourself be ill. Take care of yourself. It's not time to push through it. Grab some cool liquids, lay down.
Take a tepid bath. If your fever is really high and it's making you uncomfortable, take a tepid bath. Is better than any of the meds.
Yeah, cool compresses to your forehead, to the back of your neck. Things you would do for your children is the same things that you could do for yourself for comfort. But really, we're not out to suppress our symptoms, and those medications are just suppressing your symptoms.
And I think a super important point that you just made is you take those meds, you feel better, you think you can go out and mingle with your family, but you're still contagious. Just because your fever is gone doesn't mean you aren't contagious. So until your fever is gone naturally, you're still contagious.
Right, and fevers are so beneficial.
Yeah, they're helping.
They actually activate your immune response. So when you're suppressing your fever, you're suppressing that important immune.
Don't touch your face.
Yeah. Let's count how many times we touch our faces.
Yeah.
During these 20-30 minutes, but I forgot what I was talking about.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm the worst when it comes.
You were talking about how important fevers actually are too.
Yeah. Yep. They do a lot of great work when we're ill. So if we can, just keep ourselves comfortable and just let ourselves be febrile for a while,
Yeah.
I think we find that we get healthier faster.
I like this next fear. I have to stay glued to the TV and know everything, keep updated on COVID-19 to protect my family. Mm-hmm. No, that's just crazy. You don't need to do that. In fact, you shouldn't do that. Maybe 30 minutes a day to look it up. But, looking at the grim statistics, how many new deaths? How many new deaths? Oh, how many died last night? That's not helping anyone. It's not helping the people that died. It's not helping you. It's not helping your family. What's helping your family is things that actually help. Like reminding people, they're going to get annoyed, but remind them every time they touch their face, remind them. Mm-hmm. Hey, we need to be mindful about this. We need to try not to touch our face. We need to practice now, because when we go out, if you don't even know where your hands are, how can you not touch your face, mm-hmm. right? So things like that are helpful. Teaching people how to wash their hands properly for 20 seconds is helpful. Decontaminating yourself and your loved ones when you come back is helpful. Mm-hmm. Those things are helpful. But, perseverating, being freaked out, watching every little last minute detail, being on the internet all day long, looking at the numbers, that's not helpful.
No.
All right. What's the next one?
Another fear. Children are most at risk, which is why schools are closed. And actually, children have the least risk factors unless they have underlying conditions like asthma or a suppressed immune system. But they are most likely the little ones, to be carrying the virus and not having any symptoms that they are, and we know how well they pick their noses or don't wash their hands, so they're most likely to spread it.
Yeah. Okay, let's just go on. That was good. You did that. Let's see. Cough or fever most likely indicates that you have COVID-19. Actually, no. It's cold and flu season. Mm-hmm. You're far more likely to have, if you have a cough or a fever, you're far more likely to have the flu or a cold. But because we have a lack of testing, you need to treat yourself as if you have COVID just to be safe. So it's far more likely that you don't have COVID if you get a fever or a cough. But because we don't have testing, because we can't know, and because we're trying to stop the progression of this beast, we need to act as if we do have it. So be reassured that it's probably you don't have it. Mm-hmm. And, we have friends who've been really, really sick recently. But they're fine. They're getting over it. No big deal. Did they have COVID? Probably not, because we don't think there's much, if any, in this community yet. But we suggested they treat themselves as if they do, and they did. And they're recovering. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. Next fear. Prepare for the worst by buying everything you need right now. And we all know that fact is
Don't touch your face.
Yeah, don't touch your face. Fact is that while preparing is good, I think this is a good lesson for all of us. I usually have at least 2 weeks of groceries on hand at all times. And I don't think it ever hurts to have a couple weeks of groceries on hand.
We live in tornado country. Mm-hmm. The
Or
power can go out. Snowstorms.
Or...
It's self-reliance. You don't have to be a prepper with a year's worth of stuff.
Right. I know right as everyone was starting to prep, and I didn't really need to because I'm just a natural prepper, I guess. I was at the grocery store and I had a cart full of food, and they're like, "Oh, you're getting ready." I'm like, "No, this is just my normal week's worth of groceries.
This is a bunch of teenagers.
This is for boys." But so while preparing is good, just buy within reason, because again, it's not about it's about we, and we want to make sure that those people who are running low on toilet paper can go buy 4 rolls if they need it. And again, I was just we were out today, and there's still no toilet paper, and it's just kind of frustrating. I'm fine, we're fine, but yeah.
My finger's kind of brown.
Again, prepare.
We have a bidet, by the way.
Don't panic, and remember to leave some for your neighbor.
Yeah. This is another one of my favorites. This is a man-made virus, and it's all a conspiracy. You know, I like to say President Clinton couldn't keep secret where his Willie was going. Remember Slick Willie? If the president can't keep a secret, there ain't nobody keeping a secret. That is just unmitigated bullshit. In fact, we know from DNA sequencing that this virus came from bats. It is a bat virus, and then it got into what are called these wet markets. They call them wet because they're bloody. Basically what happens is you walk through this market. Yeah, you don't even want to hear this, do you? You walk through this market.
I just made a chicken that's in the oven for supper.
You walk through this market, you point at the goose you want, the guy pulls it out, whacks it on the head with a bat and hands it to you. And blood spatters everywhere, and everybody thinks that's great, I guess. It is quite clear that that this is simply an animal virus that mutated in a way that allowed it to infect humans. And this happens not that infrequently. Most of the flu, in fact, there's a what is that stuff called? Ococcycillium.
Yeah.
Ococcycillium is a homeopathic remedy, and it's made out of goose liver. And the reason why it's made out of goose liver is because a large reservoir for the flu every year is fowl, geese, whatever. And it's the same thing that happens here. Animal viruses can mutate and become infectious to humans, and that's what's happened here. It's not a conspiracy. It's not a weaponized thing. It's the science is really clear on that. So, you know, the people who make up these conspiracies, that's literally what they do. Well, why don't you open a magazine and read actual science, because it's just ridiculous. And all it's doing is sowing fear, and that's not helpful. Hi, Jane.
Hi, Jane.
That was 10. This is 12. Oh, we got one on this side. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Another fear. This will thin out the population, when in fact we're more likely to see a baby boom in approximately 9 months.
Why would that be?
Yeah.
How come there's going to be a baby boom? For the same reasons that there's cold in the winter, people are locked up. Hi, Elaine.
Hi, Elaine.
How's the frozen tundra? Are you still cooking in backcountry huts and all that kind of fun stuff? I hope so. Hope to meet you at one of those after this is all over. Oh man, it itches right there, and I almost did it, but I caught myself, so I didn't have to say don't touch your face. Hospitalization is recommended for anyone who tests positive for COVID-19. No, that's not true. That's the myth. The truth is, if you get sick, you should stay at home. If you get sick, you should isolate yourself at home. If you get progressively sick, then you should call your healthcare provider, or whatever resource has been set up for you. And if it's recommended, like if you're getting really short of breath and you can't breathe, or your fever is really high, or your blood pressure is going really high, because that's one of the symptoms of the bad cases, then you may need to be hospitalized. Most people who are going to the emergency room or wherever with COVID-19 are actually being sent home. And the reason why, they're all closed down. Oh, bummer, huh? Yeah, true enough. Even though we soak everything in bleach water at the end of every meal. The chances are, even if you have a bad illness and you're sent to the hospital, or you go to the hospital, even if you test positive for COVID, you might be sent home, because they're only going to be able to take the worst cases into the hospital. So just because you have COVID, it doesn't mean you have to be hospitalized. So what do? You'd rest, drink lots of fluids, treat yourself like you have the flu, isolate yourself from your family, have your family and any contacts you have isolate themselves. Quarantine is the word, quarantine themselves. So, all right, what do you got?
Another one is the virus stays on a surface even after it is cleaned. which that, of course, is false. Fact is the virus is actually not hardy and can be effectively inactivated from any surface with the solution of alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, soap, and water.
Yeah, and it dehydrates. The fancy word is desiccates pretty quickly. So even,
even untreated on a surface within so many hours, it will.
Under kind of real world conditions, probably in the area of 4 hours, this thing is dead. In certain conditions, maybe if it's a greasy surface and it's protected from sunlight, maybe it can last 24 hours. There's some evidence that it can last longer, but those are sort of special circumstances. So clean the surface and don't worry about it. Fear. COVID-19 is usually deadly. Not true. 80% of the time it's mild. 20% of the time it's more severe with, 20% of the time it is more severe, but, divide that 20% in half. Those are more severe. Divide that in half. Those are even more severe. And then some percentage are fatal, but it's a very tiny percent. And it depends on what data you look at. If you look at the data from Singapore, the fatality rate is extremely low. They've only had 2 cases, deaths. Well, that's a few days old data, so don't quote me on that as of today, but as of a couple of days ago, it was only a couple of deaths. Now, Italy has potentially much, much higher death rate, but that's because their healthcare system is completely overrun. And they're out of ventilators and they're out of everything. So if we do this right, if we shelter in place, we can stop this and prevent our healthcare system from being overrun. And hopefully that means that our death rate will be in the under 1%, more than likely. All right, I get another page.
Yeah, and we're getting close to the end of our time. So.
Are we really? This is so much fun. So we'll save some more of these for later. What kind of questions do you guys have? Oh yeah, they're all closed down due to the virus. Yeah, that's a bummer. Hey, well, let's talk about skiing anyway, because I just came back from McCall, Idaho, where we had a great time. Oh, you know, Elaine, I think about Donnie, don't you? If not, PM me and we can talk about that. Let's see, what else? I think that's about it. Any other questions anybody has? Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow with more fun facts versus myths about COVID-19. Not seeing.
So quiet today.
Yeah, it is. That's okay. All right. Again, don't panic. Prepare. I saw somebody had an acronym for panic, and it was like, you know, the P in panic standard for prepare, and the I stood for some other positive thing. I thought it was kind of clever, but I just like to leave the word panic out of it altogether. Oh yeah, one last thing I want to leave you with. Hi Fran. Yeah, thanks. Thank you for coming. I really would like to see this hashtag just another superhero saving humanity. Whatever you're doing today, take a picture and send it out with that hashtag, just another superhero saving humanity. You know, watching I Love Lucy, playing with the dogs, playing with the kids, playing at whatever it is. But just start sending that out. Let's see if we can't create a tiny bit of humor around this very serious circumstance and get people to start thinking about at least social distancing, but preferably shelter in place. All right. Have a good one.
Yep. Thank yous.
Yep. Okay. Oh, hi. I can't read that. Who are those people?
Alyssa.
Hello. Whoever you guys are, hello. I don't have good enough glasses. My new glasses are being delayed because of COVID. All right. Bye.
Bye.